Welcome to the deep dive. Today we've got this really interesting stack of sources. And honestly, at first glance, they seem like completely different worlds.
They really do.
We're looking at the whole intricate process of wine production, the art and science of it.
Right, from vine to glass.
Exactly. And then we're completely shifting gears to urban planning. Super detailed stuff in this one small French village.
It's a great contrast, but you'll see the connections.
Yeah, it really shows how much detail goes into things, whether it's a bottle of wine or, well, planning a whole community.
Absolutely. And that's our goal today, isn't it? To really dig into these topics and pull out the most compelling bits, the surprising facts.
Giving you that shortcut to being well-informed.
Exactly. We want to show that depth of expertise needed in both fields, wine and planning. We'll distill it down, keep it clear, keep it engaging, no getting bogged down.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with wine then. Uncork this first topic.
Let's do it.
Because you might think, yeah, I know wine, but the level of detail in these sources is just, wow. Let's start right at the beginning. How it's made, the different types.
Right, the absolute basics. So wine is fundamentally fermented grape juice containing alcohol, acids, and sugars. Simple definition, but it gets complex fast.
To the vine, right.
It all starts with the vine. You've got the tendrils, the leaves, the trunk, the roots. Every part plays a role. And then the grape itself, you look closely, you've got the pulp, the skin, the seeds, even the little stem, the pedicel.
And the pulp has different zones. I saw that.
Yeah, 3 zones, actually, each contributing different levels of sugar and acid. The skin gives color and tannins. Seeds add bitterness if they're crushed. It's incredibly intricate.
So what makes, say, a Cabernet from Bordeaux taste so different from one from California or even from its neighbor?
Ah, now you're getting into the magic. A huge part is the grape varietal itself, of course. Cabernet Sauvignon is just different from Merlot.
Sure.
But then you have terroir. That's the big one.
That's the key word, isn't it?
It really is. It encompasses everything about the specific place, the location, the climate, how much rain, how much sun, is there frost risk, and the soil. Massively important. What's it made of? How well does it drain? Does it hold water?
Right.
Plus, then you add the human element, the viticultural practices, how you prune the vines, manage the canopy, the whole growth cycle from bud break to ripening.
And deciding exactly when to pick.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial. You're balancing sugar levels, acidity, phenolic ripeness. Even the age of the vine matters. Older vines often yield less fruit, but it's more concentrated.
Wow. Okay, so you've got these perfectly grown, perfectly timed grapes. How do they actually become wine?
Right. That's vinification. The absolute core is alcoholic fermentation. Yeast eats the sugar in the grape juice and produces alcohol and CO2. That's the fundamental transformation.
Simple enough.
But then often there's malolactic fermentation. This is interesting. It's actually bacteria, not yeast, converting the sharp malic acid, think tart green apples, into softer, creamier lactic acid.
Ah, so that's what gives some wines that rounder feel.
Exactly. Especially in reds and some richer white wines like Chardonnay. It really affects the texture and complexity.
Okay, what about the fun stuff? The bubbles, or those lovely pink rosés?
Good question. Sparkling wines are a whole different ballgame. The most famous is the traditional method, like in champagne.
Right. Very complex.
It is. You make a base wine, then you add more sugar and yeast to the bottle for a second fermentation inside the bottle. That traps the CO2, creating the bubbles.
And then they have to get the yeast sediment out.
Yep, that's remouge, turning the bottle so the sediment collects in the neck, and degorgement, where they freeze the neck and pop out the sediment plug. Sometimes they add a little sugar back in, the dosage.
Sounds painstaking.
It is. Much quicker is the Charmat method, where that second fermentation happens in big sealed tanks. Lots of Prosecco is made this way, and the simplest is just injecting CO2, like a soda.
And rosés, how do they get that color?
3 main ways. Direct pressing is gently pressing red grapes so only a little color bleeds into the juice. Saignée, which means to bleed, involves draining off some juice early in a red wine fermentation. Or, simpler still, just blending a bit of red wine into white wine.
So many methods. Beyond the standard still wines, what other categories are out there?
Well, you've got your table wines, red, white, rosé, then sparkling, then fortified wines. Think sherry from Spain, port from Portugal, Madeira. Brandy is added, usually to stop fermentation and leave residual sugar or just boost the alcohol.
Like port, right.
Exactly. Then you have flavored wines, vermouth, Dubonnet infused with herbs, spices, roots, and then the really sweet ones, dessert wines or late harvest wines. Grapes are picked super late, maybe even affected by noble rot, botrytis cinerea.
Noble rot. Sounds dramatic.
It is. It shrivels the grapes, concentrates the sugars and flavors, creates incredible complexity. And then there's ice wine. Super rare, super expensive. Grapes are harvested and pressed while frozen solid, usually below -8 Celsius.
Wow, frozen.
Yeah, the water freezes, but the sugary juice doesn't as easily. So you press out this incredibly concentrated sweet nectar.
Amazing. Okay, this is where our sources get really fascinating, the global tour. How wine is different everywhere. Let's start in France. Obviously huge.
France is central, no doubt, second largest producer. Their classification system is key, especially the Appellation Origine Contrôlée, the AOC.
That's the top tier, right? Strict rules.
Very strict, controls everything. Grape varieties allowed, vineyard practices, winemaking techniques, yields. It guarantees authenticity and a certain quality standard tied to a specific place.
Okay, so give us a quick tour of some famous French regions.
All right, let's start with Alsace up in the northeast. It's surprisingly hot and dry there because of the Vosges Mountains blocking rain. Famous for aromatic whites like Gewürztraminer, Riesling, Pinot Gris.
Distinctive tall bottles, too.
That's right. Then Bordeaux in the southwest, huge region, massive influence from the Atlantic. You've got gravel soils on the left bank, great for Cabernet Sauvignon, and more limestone and clay on the right bank, perfect for Merlot. Think Médoc, Saint-Emilion, Pomerol, Sauternes for sweet wines. Bordeaux has its own hierarchy up to Grand Cru Class A.
And the iconic bottle shape.
Yep. Then Burgundy, Central East France. Climate and soil are incredibly varied here, even within short distances. This is the homeland of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Think tiny vineyards, complex classifications from regional up to Grand Cru. Beaujolais, Chablis, Côte, iconic names.
Very different philosophy to Bordeaux, more focused on single vineyards.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then Champagne, northeast, the coldest region, very chalky soil, which is key. Only 3 main grapes allowed, Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier, and Chardonnay, all made with that traditional method we discussed.
Can't call it champagne unless it's from there.
Legally, no. And quickly, the Loire Valley, massive area, diverse climates, known for Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc, Muscadet, Cabernet Franc. Think Sancerre, Pouilly-Fumé, Vouvray, Chinon. Plus other regions like Provence for rosé, the Rhône for Syrah and Grenache blends. France is incredibly diverse.
Wow, that's just France. What about Italy? Another giant.
Italy is actually the world's largest producer by volume. Wine culture goes back thousands of years, over 1 million grape growers. Their system is similar to France's with DOC and the top tier, DOCG, Denominazione di Origine Controllata e Garantita.
So maybe a couple of key Italian regions.
Sure, let's look at Piedmont, northwest Italy, foot of the mountain. Think Alps. Continental climate. This is Nebbiolo country, Barolo and Barbaresco, powerful tannic reds that age beautifully. Also Barbera, Dolcetto, and the sparkling Asti Spumante from Moscato. Piedmont has more DOC, DOCG zones than anywhere else in Italy.
Known for its reds, then.
Definitely. Then head east to Veneto, near Venice. More maritime climate. Famous for Amarone della Valpolicella, a rich, powerful red made from dried grapes. But also Soleil, a dry white, and of course Prosecco, the sparkling wine made primarily from the Glera grape. Veneto makes a huge amount of DOC wine.
Interesting. Okay, let's jump across the pond. What about Canada? We don't always think of it for wine.
But you should. Commercial production has been around for a while, but quality really took off in the 70s and 80s. The Free Trade Agreement in '89 was a catalyst, pushing growers to plant more Vitis vinifera, the classic European grapes.
So what makes Canadian wine unique?
It's that moderate continental climate. Gives the wines really distinctive aromas, a certain freshness. Ontario and British Columbia are the main players, and Canada is world famous for its ice wine. They have their own quality system too, VQA, Vintners Quality Alliance.
Right. Okay, let's head down under Australia. Big, bold wines often come to mind.
Australia is a major force. In New South Wales, you've got the Hunter Valley, known for Semillon and Shiraz. South Australia is the powerhouse, though about 60% of production. Think Barossa Valley Shiraz, Coonawarra, Cabernet Sauvignon, Clare Valley Riesling, very diverse climates there.
And Victoria?
Victoria is in the southeast, super diverse again. Known for elegant Pinot Noir and Chardonnay from Yarra Valley, sparkling from Great Western, rich dessert wines from Rutherglen. Victoria was hit hard by phylloxera in the late 1800s, and that history still shapes the region.
Phylloxera, that vine louse. Devastating.
Absolutely changed the face of wine worldwide. Okay, moving to Spain.
Yes, Spain. Another country with ancient roots in wine. 2,000
years of history. They use the Denominación de Origen DO system. Let's touch on 3 key areas. Jerez in the southwest, this is sherry country. Hot, humid, chalky soils. Palomino and Pedro Ximénez grapes. Unique aging process under floor yeast or oxidative aging.
Sherry is fascinatingly complex.
It really is. Then Penedès, northeast, near Barcelona. This is Cava Central. Spain's traditional method sparkling wine, mostly made here. Also known for some powerful reds, like from Torres.
Cava uses different grapes than Champagne, right?
Yes, typically local varieties like Macabeo, Paralada, and Zarello. Finally, La Rioja in the north. Famous for its Tempranillo-based reds, often aged extensively in American oak, giving them that characteristic vanilla and dill note. Look for terms like Crianza, Reserva, Gran Reserva. They indicate aging requirements.
Good tip. Okay, last stop on our tour, Germany. Famous for Riesling.
Primarily Riesling, yes. Roman introduction of vines here too, 2,000 years ago. Phylloxera wasn't quite as bad here as elsewhere, mostly white wine production. Their quality system is based on the ripeness of the grapes at harvest.
How did that work?
You have basic Deutscher Tafelwein and Landwein. Then Qualitätswein bestimmter Anbaugebiet, QBA, quality wine from a specific region. But the top is Qualitätswein mit Prädikat, QMP, quality wine with special attributes. This is where you get categories like Cabernet, fully ripe, Spätlese, late harvest, Allslees, select harvest, Bier no Slees, select berry harvest, often with a noble rot, and the rare Eiswein, ice wine.
All indicating increasing ripeness and potential sweetness.
Exactly. It's a very precise system.
Phew, what a tour. Okay, so we know roughly what's in the bottle and where it came from. How do we actually evaluate it, that organoleptic tasting?
Right. It's about using your senses. Organoleptic means relating to the sensory organs to assess the wine. Quality, maybe even origin, it's a sequence. First, look at the wine. Color, clarity, intensity.
What does the color tell you?
For reds, deep purple might mean young and full-bodied. Garnet or brick might indicate age. For whites, pale straw could be young and crisp. Golden might suggest oak aging or some sweetness. Then you smell. Swirl the glass gently to release the volatile compounds.
Aroma versus bouquet.
Good distinction. Aroma usually refers to the primary smells from the grape itself, fruity, floral, herbal. Bouquet develops with aging, from fermentation and maturation. Think oak notes, nutty, earthy, spicy characteristics.
Okay. Look, smell, then taste.
Finally, taste. Take a small sip. Hold it in your mouth. Maybe draw in a tiny bit of air over the wine to aerate it further, helps release more flavors.
The slurping sound.
That's the one, though you can be subtle. Then you mentally chew the wine, letting it coat your palate. You're evaluating the balance. How's the acidity? Is there sweetness? What about tannins, that drawing sensation? The alcohol level, the overall weight or body, the mouthfeel, is it smooth, rough, creamy, and of course the flavors themselves. And the finish, how long do the pleasant flavors linger?
It's a very systematic process.
It is. Helps you break down the experience and articulate what you're sensing.
Beyond just tasting, what about professional wine service? What does that involve?
It's really about two things: enhancing the customer's experience and preserving the wine's quality. You need the right equipment, chillers, maybe a pouring basket for old reds, decanters, coasters, and crucially, the right glasses for the type of wine. A good decanter should be clear, polished glass, ideally holding at least a liter.
And temperature, we touched on it, but it seems vital in service.
Absolutely critical. We mentioned the general ranges. 16-18 degrees C for most reds, maybe slightly cooler for lighter ones. 6-8 degrees C for sparkling and rosé. 8-12 degrees C for whites and dessert wines. Fortifieds, very dry sherry, cool at 10 degrees C. Others may be room temp like reds. Getting it right makes a huge difference.
Okay, and decanting. When and how? You mentioned two reasons.
Right. For older wines, it's purely about separating the clear wine from the sediment that's dropped out over years. You do this very gently. Stand the bottle up beforehand if possible. Use a light source, like a candle or flashlight, under the neck as you pour slowly into the decanter. Stop the moment you see sediment reaching the neck.
Very careful operation.
Extremely. You don't want to stir it up. For younger, robust, tannic wines, think maybe a young Barolo or Cabernet decanting is about aeration, letting it breathe. It helps soften the tannins, open up the aromas and flavors. For these, you can just pour it straight into the decanter, let it splash a bit even.
So different techniques for different purposes.
Exactly.
And the general steps for pouring at the table.
Okay. Present the bottle, label facing the guest. Pour a small taste, about 30 milliliters, for the host or person who ordered it. Wait for their approval.
Assuming they approve.
Then you serve the other guests, usually ladies first, then gentlemen. Host last, though always follow the house rules. Fill glasses appropriately. Halfway to maybe 3/4 for still wines allows for swirling. Sparkling wines, pour slowly down the side to manage the foam, usually near the rim.
And a little twist at the end.
Yes. The little turn of the bottle as you finish pouring helps prevent drips. Always good to wipe the neck with a clean cloth, too. Then place the bottle or decanter on the table, label facing the client again. It's about efficiency, elegance, and respect for the wine and the guest.
Lastly, how does a professional approach selling wine? It's not just about opening bottles.
No, it's about enhancing the whole dining experience. It starts with knowledge and passion. You need the vocabulary and enthusiasm to describe wines well. Think about pairings suggest wines that complement the food. Keep glasses topped up appropriately.
Respecting preferences, though.
Always. If someone has a clear preference, honor it. But you can make suggestions. Offer wines that match their stated tastes, or encourage them to try something new that pairs well. That's suggestive selling. Upselling is about recommending maybe a slightly better quality wine that you genuinely think they'll enjoy more, and which also benefits the establishment. Remembering regulars' preferences is key here.
So offering choices, providing information.
Exactly. Maybe highlighting specials, providing details about the producer or the vineyard, making the wine list accessible and interesting. And of course, underpinning all of this is responsible service. Always.
Absolutely crucial. Wow. That's an incredible amount of detail just for wine. Okay, let's cleanse the palate, so to speak.
Good idea.
And shift gears to this completely different but equally detailed world. Urban planning in the small French commune of Lancier.
Right, Lancier. It's in the Rhône department near Beaujolais, so there's still a wine connection, actually.
Ah, interesting. So tell us about Lancier.
It's a village with a fascinating history. It sits right on the border between Beaujolais and Mâconnais historically, which led to some, well, hesitations and even divisions in its past. Rivers acted as boundaries. There were disputes over bits of land.
And the population.
It's seen ups and downs. Like many wine regions, phylloxera hit hard in the late 19th century, causing a big population drop. But unlike some rural areas, Lancier has actually grown quite a bit since the mid-20th century. Went from about 450 people in 1962 to over 700 by 2007. It's dynamic.
What drives its economy? Still wine.
Viticulture is definitely dominant. About 25 wine operations plus a major wine merchant. Savor Club is a big employer. But it also has local shops, artisans, even some tourism with B&Bs. It's a working village.
So the core of our source here is the Plan Local Urbanism, the PLU. What exactly is that?
The PLU is the key local planning document. It's the rule book, the guide for how the commune develops physically. Where can you build houses? Where are commercial zones? What areas are protected as agricultural or natural land?
It's the blueprint.
Exactly. Lancier's was first approved back in 2008, but it's not static. It's been modified and revised several times since then in 2014, 2016, 2018, 2019. Needs change, regulations change, and now the broader regional body, the CCSB, Communauté de Communes Saône Beaujolais, handles the overall territorial planning competence.
So what are some examples of these recent changes to Lancier's PLU? Our sources get quite specific.
They do. Okay, one recent example from 2023 was a simplified modification. This procedure allows for minor tweaks without a full public inquiry. In this case, it was about adjusting rules for earthworks like digging and filling, and the footprint size allowed for commercial buildings in the main urban zone, Zone UA, just clarifying things, enabling some new projects. Importantly, it didn't change the overall plan or touch protected zones.
Makes sense. Small adjustments.
Then there was a bigger modification in 2019 related to the National Loi Macron. This affected 12 communes in the area, including Lancier.
What did that do?
Its main goal was to allow people with existing homes in the designated natural N or agricultural A zones to build extensions or annexes, even if those additions weren't for farming purposes.
Ah, okay. So adding a garage or a guest room, perhaps?
Potentially, yes. But it wasn't a free-for-all. They had to establish very specific controlled rules about the height and footprint of these additions, making sure they were harmonized across all 12 communes, trying to allow some flexibility while still protecting the character of those zones.
Interesting balance.
Yeah.
What about the Le Pasquier revision in 2018? That sounded significant.
That one's really interesting. It involved reclassifying about 1.5 hectares of land right at the entrance to the village into a zone ready for development, a 1 AUR zone. The plan is ambitious. Create a whole new village center there.
A new center. What's planned for it?
A lot. A wedding and council hall, a meeting room for local associations, 11 units of social housing specifically aiming for smaller apartments, and some adapted for seniors. a media library, a creche or nursery, and even a multi-service commercial space, maybe a small cafe and a hairdresser.
Wow, that's quite a development.
The idea is to group all these around a central public space, like a square, to really create a focal point, a meeting place for residents, and integrate it carefully with the existing village structure. It's about revitalizing the heart of the commune.
And there was another one, Le Boulon, in 2016.
Yes, that focused on enabling the expansion of an existing 3-star hotel located in an area called Les Boulons, right on the border with another commune. The original PLU had zoned the hotel building itself as urban economic, UIA, but its park and tennis court were left in the natural end zone.
So they couldn't build in the park.
Exactly. To allow the hotel to expand onto its own parkland, those end zone parcels needed to be rezoned to UIA, the economic zone. It was a specific change to facilitate that business's growth.
Okay, so with all these changes, especially things like allowing extensions in natural zones or creating new development areas, what's the impact on the environment in Lancier?
This is a key point in the sources. They explicitly state that these modifications, particularly the simplified ones and the Loi Macron changes, were assessed as having no negative impact on the environment.
Really? How so?
Because they didn't actually change the boundaries of the agricultural or natural zones themselves or lead to consuming new undeveloped land in those specific instances. The initial environmental assessment back in 2008 had already determined there weren't major ecological stakes like protected habitats or species right in those areas. Lancier also uses ZNIFs.
ZNIS.
Zone naturelle d'intérêt écologique, faunistique et floristique. It's basically a scientific inventory mapping areas of ecological interest, important plants, animals, habitats. While they don't have direct regulatory force like zoning, they inform planning decisions and guide preservation efforts. So environmental protection is considered.
Good to know. Beyond the zoning rules, what else does the PLU cover? Things like infrastructure, water, noise.
Oh, yes, it's comprehensive. It addresses sanitation ships. Lancier uses a mix of collective sewer systems and individual septic tanks, and they have a modern wastewater treatment plant that can even handle winery effluent. Rainwater runoff isn't generally a big problem, but they do have plans for a dike near Le Boulon just in case of flooding from a nearby stream.
Practical stuff.
Very. It details the road network, the main departmental roads passing through, and it assesses noise pollution from those roads, identifying specific buildings or zones that are most affected based on sound level measurements. There are even provisions for preventative archaeology.
Preventative archaeology.
Yeah, ensuring that before any significant public or private construction work begins, the area is checked for potential archaeological remains. If something is found, steps are taken to study and preserve that heritage before building proceeds. Protects the history buried underground.
That's fascinating. So wrapping up Lancier, what does all this detailed planning mean for how the village actually looks and feels, its visual character?
The PLU actively aims to preserve Lancier's specific landscape character. They emphasize a grouped habitat style, meaning they want to keep development clustered, avoiding sprawl across the countryside. There's a real focus on protecting the views of the surrounding vineyard-covered hills, these important cones of view.
Maintaining that village feel.
Exactly. The design guidelines encourage building in the traditional Beaujolais style. Structures built right along the roads, often with enclosed courtyards and gardens behind them. They even specifically mention protecting the stone walls that are common in the area, seeing them as a key part of the local identity. It's about managing change while holding on to what makes Lancier.
What a journey. Seriously, from the biochemistry of fermentation and the nuances of terroir to the zoning regulations and infrastructure planning of a French village, it's quite the spectrum.
It really is. But you see the threads, right? Both fields, wine, and urban planning require this incredible depth of knowledge, this meticulous attention to detail, and this deep understanding of place.
A keen eye for detail is definitely the common denominator.
Right.
Whether it's balancing acidity in a grape or deciding where a new community hall should go.
And both show how deeply human activities are tied to the land, to the environment. Cultivating grapes for a specific terroir reflects that connection just as much as planning how a community interacts with its surrounding landscape. These deep dives show how those seemingly small local decisions in the vineyard or in the planning office build up into a much larger, more complex picture.
It's truly fascinating. So maybe the takeaway for you listening is this. The next time you open a bottle of wine, take a moment. Think about the journey from that specific vine in that specific place through all those processes. Or, when you walk through any town, big or small, Consider the layers of planning, the regulations, the history, the environmental factors that have shaped the streets, the buildings, the spaces around you.
It really is amazing how much thought, how much intention goes into crafting the world we experience every day.
Makes you appreciate it all a bit more, doesn't it? Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.